we're going to talk about Christopher Jones, the actor Christopher Jones, and why no one really knows who this guy is, I don't think. But he was around. I'm Steve Chambers. I'm an actor and a writer with Coffee with Aliens at the movies. So, Chris Jones, I've always been interested in this kind of these obscure actors, guys that and girls that made it and they had a moment and then they just disappeared, whether their career withered away or in Chris Jones's case, which we're going to get to, he stopped. He just stopped at the top of his game, and he's such a mystery. Dead now. I think a few years ago he died. But I found him accidentally. Years ago I was watching this show, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., right? 60s spy show, and there's this guy in it, and he looked strikingly like James Dean, and I was like, who the hell is that? And this was a long time ago, I think pre-Google, so I can't even remember how I found who this guy was, but he was finally I found some films of his, Through the Looking Glass with Anthony Hopkins, Wild in the Streets, Shelley Winters, Chabasco, good luck finding that, and a few other films, Three in the Attic, which I'm pretty sure is on YouTube. So is Wild in the Streets, which is a Roger Corman movie. So he is a hard guy to find out about. I mean, you can Wikipedia him and stuff, but he's a hard guy to really know what happened after his career. So he's from Tennessee, juvenile delinquent, got in trouble as a young guy. Somewhere along the way when he's really young, he becomes obsessed with Elvis Presley and, funnily enough, James Dean. And again, if you Google image Christopher Jones actor James Dean, holy cow, different haircut. But so he joins the army, goes AWOL, and I think while he was in the army, or at some point when he was younger, someone said, you should get into acting, probably because you look like James Dean. So on his way, he decides to go to New York, the James Dean route, from wherever he is at the time, Tennessee, Florida, I don't know, stops in Fairmount, Indiana, where James Dean was from. And coincidentally, so is Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, two American iconic things, people from this small town. And Chris Jones goes over there and he meets James Dean's parents. It was his aunt and uncle who had raised him, and the story has it they took to him and they liked him and they, wow, look at this similarity, it must have been weird for them. But he goes to New York right away. I think, again, based on his looks, he gets a part in a Broadway play, Night of the Iguana, right, with Shelley Winters, and she really helps his career. He goes off to Hollywood. He gets a TV show, The Legend of Jesse James, which, again, super hard to find, a Western show, and starts doing some films. Like I said, he does this thing called Chabasco, which is a story of, I think he again plays like a delinquent somewhere in California, and it's either you go to jail or you go to work on this fishing boat in the middle of the ocean, and he chooses that. And I can't even remember the plot, doesn't really matter, but he's cool. Now the thing with him is I can't tell if Christopher Jones is a really good actor or if he's just really good at like doing James Dean. Either way, you believe it. I mean, it's dramatic and it's cool, and but I could never tell, is he doing his own thing? Is he really this guy? Or is he doing an imitation of Dean? So anyway, he does a few other films. As I said, Wild in the Streets was a big deal. Looking Glass, Through the Looking Glass, or Looking Glass, The Looking Glass Door. Through the Looking Glass is an Alice in Wonderland thing, not that. Didn't do that. The Looking Glass War, about the Cold War. And then finally he gets, I think, Ryan's Daughter, David Lean. Big deal. This is a big budget thing. And things just go south. Again, hard to find a lot of info on this, but legend has it he was sort of roofied, but with acid, and had a nervous breakdown because he didn't know he was on LSD. I don't know if that's true. He also claimed at around this time, he was one, and you've heard other people claim they were supposed to be at the Polanski Tate House the night of the Manson murders. I don't know if that was true, if he really was or not supposed to be there, but great for the legend, sure. And he was around that Hollywood scene, late 60s. He hung out with Jim Morrison, I've read, and was into drugs and partying and all that. Anyway, does the movie Ryan's Daughter and then just stops, disappears. He's not even 30 at this point, and he's just gone. And good luck finding info during that lost period. I think he got into art, like this sculpting, like visual art, painting, and stuff like that. And then, so years and years later, he does the last thing I think you can find of him. One of the last things is this weird, it's on YouTube, this weird 1984 cable access show shot in Los Angeles. Just, and it's so weird. It looks like something that like P.T. Anderson would have done in the middle of Boogie Nights. Like, not that it's porno, but it's just this weird, this really exists, this show, and everything about it's so like as though it's covered in Vaseline. It's weird. And on the panel of this little talk show is some guy who's claiming to be one of the Barrymores. I don't know, maybe he was, I don't know, but he's wearing this ridiculous hair hat, aka toupee. And then out of nowhere, Christopher Jones, by this point 40, shows up in like a leather jacket and super tight jeans with the shirt but unbuttoned and the cigarette, and he comes onto the set and then just kneels down by the table. He doesn't even take a proper seat. He like crashes it, and he just sort of mumbles away. He's smoking cigarettes, and they're trying to talk about his career, and he kind of hints that he might be doing this movie where he does play James Dean, and again, he's 40 at this time and not looking great. And I think he pulls out like some crumpled papers from his pocket to show his art, and he's all weird, and then just takes off. And they're like, no, come on, stay. But he doesn't, he just takes off. And I think that's like the last thing you can find of this guy. But, of course, so Tarantino of Tarantino, he wants this guy for, I think it's Pulp Fiction, to play one of the roles. And but this guy's out. He's out of Hollywood. He's not doing Pulp Fiction. However, he does do this small role in '96 in a movie called Mad Dog Time for a friend of his. I forget the guy's name, but it was somebody who was doing a movie, some low budget thing, and so Chris Jones makes a comeback. But then that's it, and then he's gone, and lives in total obscurity. I don't know what he's doing, and then he's dead. And that's the last time I hear about him, maybe in 2014 or something. And again, I find this guy wildly fascinating because he's such a mystery, and he was interesting to watch. He was interesting to watch because I don't know if I'm here to tell you, look at him, he's a great actor, or just look at him like, what happened? He was wildly successful for a minute, and no one remembers, and why would they? This is 50 odd years ago. And again, I can't tell if he's just doing James Dean or that's really how he was. But certainly an interesting guy to look at. And part of the mystique is trying to find his films. They're not wildly or widely available. So Chris Jones is one of the most interesting people to me because he was talented. I think he carried a film. He did. But again, he rises up real fast, he seems intense, and then just disappears. And that's always been the most interesting thing to me. And so trying to find stuff about him while he was in those lost years, damn near impossible. And I think I admire and respect that he just stayed out. I mean, for the most part, he did some small thing in a '96 film for his buddy, but he was out. But if you can find movies, I personally like this thing he did in 1966, I think, called Chabasco. What a title, Chabasco, where he's on the boat. And I think Susan Strasberg, Lee Strasberg's daughter, is in it and was his real-life wife. They, I do believe, had a kid together. And yeah, and as I said, of course, come the era of Tarantino, he wanted him in. Because that's so Tarantino of Tarantino, how Quentin of him, and but couldn't get him. And then the guy vanished. And the last thing I saw of him, as I said, was that 1984 weird cable access thing. And anyway, I want to do a series on these sort of unsung heroes. I don't know if he's a hero, but these sort of, either he's the mysterious guy. I mean, there's other actors that really hit and then disappeared, like Phoebe Cates. But you can find out more about her. Chris Jones is a real mystery. And I do want to do a little series on this, and not just on people who disappeared, but actors who I think don't get enough recognition, especially for certain portions of their career when they were starting out. But this guy, I think he seemed to have gotten a bit of recognition when he popped, because he was working and he was starring and stuff, but then it just all ended, and good luck finding out why it ended, why he chose, and it was his choice to just take off. But Christopher Jones, yeah, check that guy out. I know one film, Through the Looking Glass, the one he did with Anthony Hopkins, is a little more widely available, but the rest really aren't, man. And as I say, I've always been fascinated by these actors who aren't everywhere in your face. They are these unsung heroes. They are sort of the kings of the misremembered. They are infamous, if not famous. And Christopher Jones is one of those guys. I think you can find on YouTube one of the episodes of his cowboy show, The Legend of Jesse James. And again, you can certainly find Wild in the Streets. And Wild in the Streets is pretty cool. You've got Shelley Winters in it as well, and a young Richard Pryor who plays this guy's drummer, because in the film, really quick, Christopher Jones is a rock star and all the kids like him, and it takes place in this sort of alternate timeline where he decides, you know what, if you elect me as president, I will make a change. And before doing that, he wants to get the voting age lowered to 14, because he figures out that 52% of all Americans are under the age of 18, and if you can get the voting age lowered, he knows the kids will vote for him, and they do. And what do you do with adults? He sends them to these concentration camps where he doses them with LSD, and what a weird Roger Corman movie that is. So that, if that made any sense, is Wild in the Streets. It's wild, and that's on YouTube. But yeah, if you can find anything else about this guy, let me know. If you have any info, not about his whereabouts, he's quite dead. But anything that happened after his last film in 1970 up until his death in about 2014 or so, except for that blip on the radar in 1984 when he made that cable access appearance, Christopher Jones is a fascinating guy. I don't know that we're going to soon see a biography about him. I'd write one if I had enough info about the guy, but I don't. So I'm going to end there. And again, please comment with any info you know of this guy, as though I'm looking for him, like my long lost father. But I do find him fascinating. He does look a lot like James Dean, so look him up for that, if no other reason. And I think that's how he's acting. And again, part of my fascination is I can't tell if he is a good actor or if he's just doing Dean, but pretty good. So that's it. Christopher Jones. Find that guy. You found me. I'm Steve with Coffee with Aliens at the Movies. So please subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.